Today on Simple Science, we leave the laboratory and go into my kitchen. And we are making my favorite thing, bread. We'll be making a simple loaf of bread. I say simple, but look at all these materials that we'll be using. And just like in science and chemistry, with bread we'll be doing lots of mixing. We're going to need 500 grams of flour, 8 grams of yeast, 10 grams of salt, and 375 grams of hot water. All right, so now for the scientific part. We're going to mix our yeast into our water. Yeast is actually a single-celled microorganism related to mushrooms. So the science of yeast is this. When we mix the yeast into our bread and we mix our dough, we create air pockets. The yeast inside the bread starts to process and metabolize the flour. This creates alcohol for flavor and carbon dioxide. So as the carbon dioxide is created, it fills in the air pockets within the bread and makes the bread rise. So let's mix this all together and watch it happen. All right, so here comes the fun part. We're fixing to get dirty. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mix our yeast, but you gotta make sure you wash your hands because we mix everything by hand. Here we go, we're gonna pour it in first. The yeast goes into the hot water, and then we just kind of mix it together, just kind of like we're just trying to pinch different pieces of yeast. All right, so we've got the yeast mixed into the water. If you want to come up and look at it just a little bit. Now, if we just let it sit there like this, it wouldn't really happen because this is not instant yeast. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar. And the sugar needs to be mixed in, and that will help the yeast activate. So after about 10 minutes, this is our yeast. If you look, it's made this bubbly film on the top because the yeast is activating, creating carbon dioxide. Awesome. Now here comes the really fun part. We're gonna mix together all the ingredients and really get our hands dirty. Come on, get a little closer, Carter, so you can see it. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pour our yeast water into our bowl. And then we are going to dump our flour, the 375 grams of flour, into the bowl, like so. And then we are gonna take our salt and sprinkle it across the top. You don't want salt to directly touch your yeast water because that could kill some of the activation. So you just go on top of it like this. And now for the good part. Are you ready? We're mixing it with our hands and it gets super sticky and messy. This is what cooking is all about. When you get done mixing, you have this really sticky, yucky looking ball of dough. Now we're gonna let the dough rest for about 20 minutes, and this just allows the dough to soak up all of the water. It's been 20 minutes. Our dough has been sitting soaking up all the water, and now we're gonna stretch and fold our dough for strength. This we're gonna grab the 4 corners and we're gonna pull and stretch the dough. This will allow the dough to be stronger and hold its shape while it's in the pan. Now that we've done that, I'm gonna place a floured kitchen towel over the top of it to let the heat kind of build up inside there and for the bread to rise. Okay, we are gonna let the bread sit there for an hour and a half. So the bread has set for an hour and a half. Let's look what it looks like now. It's changed a little bit, and actually it's gotten quite a bit bigger. And if you notice, there's a bunch of air from the carbon dioxide going up inside the bread. Now we are going to put it onto the countertop. And then I am going to do a letter fold. Look how stringy it is. It's really cool. A letter fold in order to make my loaf. So put it onto the counter. Get some of this extra bread that's in there. This is gonna be really fun to clean off later. Okay, so now we flour our countertop, that way it don't stick. Now we're gonna do some letter folds until it makes a nice loaf. All right, so now we have this nice little round thing of dough. We're gonna place it into our loaf pan, and it's gonna sit here for an hour and a half. And during that time, it should rise. So I'll come back and show you how it goes throughout the process. And then in an hour and a half, we'll be ready to bake. In about 20 minutes, and you can see that the loaf is starting to expand in the pan. And we'll come check on it here in another probably 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, the bread's been rising for about an hour. If you notice, it's getting to about the top of the pan, and it's gonna actually grow even more than that. After 90 minutes, the bread is risen and nice looking loaf. So I'm fixing to brush it with a 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of milk wash, and that will keep the crust nice and soft as it bakes. It bakes for 45 minutes at 375 degrees. At the 20-minute mark, I'll be checking it out to make sure it's not browning too much. And if it is, I'll be putting some aluminum foil over the top of it. So let's get that brushed on. This is my wash, and I'm fixing to use this silicone brush to brush it on. And you just kind of, it's like you're painting your bread with egg and milk. It's really kind of fun, and you can see how soft the bread is. It's full of air. I can't wait till it's done so we can cut it open, and then we can see all the air bubbles inside. And now, the loaf is going into the oven. So it's been about 20 minutes, and you can see the loaf has risen nicely, and that it's got a nice golden brown color. So it doesn't get any darker or harder on the top than that, I am going to put an aluminum foil tin over it and then cook it for the remaining 20 minutes. So the bread is out of the oven. It's about time to check it out. So very carefully, I'm gonna take the aluminum foil off, and hopefully the crust has kept that golden brown color that it had before. That's the exciting part. Oh, this looks really good. All right, for this bread, you wanna take it out of the pan so it doesn't steam and get soggy. So I'm gonna put it on this wire rack and try to turn it over and take it out. Oh yeah, there it goes. And then very carefully, I'm gonna turn it over. And voila, we have a loaf of bread. So we're gonna give it about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 30, to let it kind of cool off before I cut it open. And I can't wait to try a piece of this. So now for the moment of truth. We're gonna cut the bread. So when you're cutting bread, you don't want to like smash it, so you don't just mash down, so you go real light with your pressure, and you use your knife and you just go back and forth with it. A good bread knife will actually just kind of saw through without you really having to apply a whole lot of pressure. Oh, that looks perfect. So I have to say I'm very pleased with the way the bread turned out. Now this is the heel, but if you look on the inside, you can see all those holes. That is where the yeast made all that carbon dioxide and filled it up and then expanded the bread. So this bread is really soft, and I'm sure it's gonna be tasty. I've got to try it, so here goes. That's good science, very good science. I hope that this has actually kind of inspired you to look into baking. Baking's a fun activity that you can do with your parents, and whenever you get done, you get a delicious snack. So go out there, find you a good recipe online or a book to help you find recipes, and then see what you can make. I want to take just a moment to say thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed the bread. This year, for my New Year's resolution, I wanted to learn how to make homemade bread. My wife was nice enough to buy me a bread baking book. I think it's because she wants to eat bread as much as I want to eat bread. The book is Bread Baking for Beginners. It is written by Bonnie O'Hara, the owner of Alchemy Bread Company. So if making bread is something that you're interested in, I can definitely recommend this book. As a matter of fact, the recipe that I used today in my video was directly from here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.